Alien War veteran warned Galactic Empire about Earth soldiers, but they ignored best HFY stories. The chamber was vast, filled with the finest minds of the Empire, commanders, warlords, and the Emperor himself. The air vibrated with confidence, even arrogance, as holographic displays projected their grand invasion plans. Victory was a foregone conclusion. Then, the doors creaked open and silence fell. He entered, a relic from a war they preferred to forget. His body bore the marks of that conflict, scars running like trenches across his hardened skin. His eyes, sunken yet sharp, scanned the room, reading the dismissive expressions. They thought him old, irrelevant. He exhaled slowly, stepping forward, his voice steady but urgent. "You don't understand," he said, breaking the silence. "Humans don't fight wars. They become war. And you are sending our forces to die." Laughter rippled through the council. A younger general leaned forward, smirking. "You expect us to fear primitives? Their technology is outdated. Their armies small. Their worlds fragile. We will crush them before they understand what's happening." The veteran's jaw clenched. "You think this is about technology? I watched them turn jungle ambushes into slaughterhouses. I saw them adapt mid-battle, using our own tactics against us better than we ever could. They learn. They endure. And when they fight as if war is all they have ever known." The Emperor leaned back on his throne, unimpressed. "Our fleets outnumber them 1,000 to 1. Our soldiers have conquered countless systems. What makes these creatures any different?" The veteran's fists tightened. "Because they are not fighting for conquest. They are fighting for survival. And beings who fight for survival, who have evolved through endless wars, natural disasters, and extinction-level threats, do not break. They break others." Another round of laughter erupted. A council member sneered. "You sound afraid." The veteran met his gaze. "I am." A hush fell over the room. He continued, his voice firm. "We invaded their colony world once. A reconnaissance mission. 300 of our finest warriors. We expected an easy sweep. We never heard from them again. When reinforcements arrived, they found nothing. No bodies, no weapons, just the ruins of our ships, stripped clean. The only thing left behind was a single human phrase, painted in their own blood. Come back and see." The smirk faded from the young general's face. The Emperor exhaled slowly. "Enough." He rose, his crimson cloak flowing behind him. "You were once a warrior. Now you cower like an old man fearing shadows. I will not allow your cowardice to poison this council. The decision has been made." He turned to his warlords. "We proceed as planned. Deploy the fleet. Conquer Earth." The veteran's hands trembled, not with age, but with rage. His warning had been ignored. As the council adjourned, he stood alone in the emptying chamber. Outside the windows, warships launched in synchronized precision, heading toward a world they thought would fall in days. He whispered to no one in particular. "You should have listened." The invasion began with overwhelming force. Thousands of warships emerged from slipspace, blotting out Earth's skies. Orbital bombardments targeted key military installations, severing communication lines and rendering early countermeasures useless. The Empire had done this countless times before. Shock and awe, swift planetary domination. It was routine. Predictable. But Earth did not respond like the others. Instead of surrendering, the humans vanished. Military convoys disappeared into dense forests, underground tunnels, and fortified bunkers. Civilian networks fragmented, but within hours, makeshift communication grids sprang to life. The Empire expected panic. What they found was organization. Their dropships deployed legions of soldiers into major cities, expecting immediate subjugation. What they walked into was something else entirely. A squad of armored warriors advanced through an abandoned metropolis, weapons raised. It was too quiet. A commando flicked his visor through multiple scanning modes. Infrared, motion detection, nothing. Then, in an instant, the shadows moved. Gunfire erupted from all angles. The first shots weren't random. They targeted communication officers, unit commanders, medics, each bullet calculated to cripple their response. Within seconds, the squad was leaderless, disoriented. Then the real assault began. Explosives detonated in alleyways, sending armored bodies flying. Snipers picked off stragglers from unseen positions. The aliens retaliated, firing wildly, but their enemies were already gone, shifting, repositioning, striking again. It was surgical, merciless. It wasn't just an ambush. It was a lesson. Another battalion suffered a different fate in the frozen tundras. Expecting a direct assault, they fortified their position, shielding themselves from the blizzard. Hours passed. No movement. Then the cold itself became the enemy. Supplies vanished. Rations were stolen in the dead of night. Power cells drained without explanation. Sleep-deprived and starving, soldiers began seeing shadows that weren't there, until they were. Humans emerged from the snow, silent, blades flashing. When reinforcements arrived, they found nothing but frozen corpses and a single message carved into ice: leave. In the jungles, an armored convoy pushed forward, tanks crushing trees beneath their massive treads. They scanned the treetops, expecting an aerial assault. The attack came from beneath. Explosives erupted from the mud, flipping vehicles like toys. Trenches, hidden beneath the foliage, opened up, swallowing squads whole. The survivors tried to flee but found their own maps had been altered, rerouted. They weren't hunting the enemy. They had been herded. Captured aliens were dragged into makeshift cells, interrogated with unsettling patience. Humans didn't just want victory. They wanted knowledge. They extracted tactics, supply routes, fleet compositions, all while ensuring that any escaped prisoner carried only one message back to their commanders. Asterisk, you started this. We will finish it. Asterisk. Within days, entire platoons stopped responding. Panic set in. Warlords demanded updates that never came. The invincible armada, the pride of the Empire, was faltering. A single transmission broke through the silence, a desperate distress call from a high-ranking officer. His voice trembled. They aren't soldiers. They are hunters. We never had a war. We had executions. Then, static. The Imperial High Command could no longer ignore the disaster unfolding on Earth. Reports of entire legions vanishing without a trace, elite warships reduced to drifting wrecks, and distress calls filled with raw terror forced them into an emergency war council. The Emperor, once dismissive, now listened with cold fury as his warlords debated their next move. Some still refused to believe that mere humans had shattered their forces. Others, their voices hushed and uneasy, began to fear the impossible. Reinforcements were sent. Not just soldiers, but the best the Empire had to offer: dreadnought-class warships, bioengineered supersoldiers, mechanized death squads. They would not make the mistake of underestimating humanity again. The Empire's fleets returned to orbit, deploying their newest wave of invaders, but something was wrong. Satellite imagery showed cities still intact, factories still producing, military movements hidden beneath Earth's endless terrain. The humans had suffered losses, yet they did not weaken. If anything, they adapted. Aerial patrols detected nothing unusual until their scanners picked up distant signals, faint but growing. Then came the noise. The first explosion wasn't from human weapons but from the Empire's own fleet. A battleship's reactor detonated, its systems hijacked. Another ship soon followed, then another. A virus, silent, insidious, had spread through their network. The humans had not just been fighting on the battlefield. They had been waging war in ways the Empire had never prepared for. Their digital security had been dismantled from within, their encrypted channels breached. Now their own orbital defenses turned against them, firing on friendly ships. Panic erupted among the command ranks as they scrambled to regain control. But control was an illusion. On the ground, the reinforcements found themselves facing not an army, but a nightmare. The humans did not fight as they expected. They did not meet force with force. They attacked the Empire's certainty. Supply lines collapsed. Convoys were hijacked mid-transit, their contents repurposed against their original owners. High-ranking officers vanished, dragged into the darkness by unseen hands, their own troops discovering only blood-streaked walls and discarded weapons. Psychological warfare set in. Phantom broadcasts hijacked Imperial comms, whispering in their own language. *, you are not hunters. You are prey. *, weather patterns became weapons. Fires raged where there should have been rain. Torrential storms drowned fortifications overnight. It was as if the very planet fought alongside its people. Desert encampments found their air systems sabotaged, their water supplies poisoned with subtle, undetectable toxins that weakened soldiers over days. In the cities, urban guerrillas struck with precision, disguised as civilians until the moment they weren't. They didn't just kill. They made every death a message. Entire squads began deserting. Reports surfaced of elite warriors discarding their weapons, surrendering en masse, not out of cowardice but from something far worse. They had seen what happened to those who refused. A captured officer, shaking, his once proud armor now battered and dented, was forced to speak before the Imperial Council via intercepted transmission. His voice, raw with desperation, echoed across the fleet. There is no victory. Only survival. And even that is slipping away. Then, silence. The Emperor's throne room was silent. The warlords, once arrogant, now stood in uneasy stillness, their eyes fixed on the flickering holoscreens displaying the ruin of their once mighty legions. Earth had become a graveyard for the Empire's finest. The War Council chambers, once filled with confident declarations of conquest, now reeked of fear. Transmission after transmission reported the same grim reality. The humans had dismantled every offensive, turned every strategy against them, and bled the invaders dry without ever engaging in open warfare. Entire divisions ceased to respond, their last messages filled with cryptic warnings, desperate pleas, and sheer terror. The Emperor clenched his jaw as another report arrived. The last surviving ground forces had abandoned their weapons, not because of any command but because they had no other choice. The humans had broken them in ways the Empire had never imagined possible. Then, a final, unexpected message. A lone ship, battered and barely functional, emerged from the chaos of Earth's orbit, carrying a single surviving officer, one of the few who had witnessed the full extent of the devastation firsthand. The War Council listened as the alien, once a proud warrior, now spoke with the voice of a man who had seen the abyss. "They didn't just fight us," he said, his voice hollow. "They studied us. Every tactic, every weakness, every fear. They never fought the war we expected. They fought the war we feared." Silence. The Emperor, for the first time in his long reign, felt something foreign settle deep in his chest. Not anger. Not humiliation. Something colder. The realization that they had never been the superior force. The humans had let them come. They had allowed the invasion to unfold, absorbing the Empire's strength like a beast luring prey into its den. Every battle had been a lesson, every loss a calculated cost. Humanity had taken the Empire's greatest war machine and turned it against itself. And now, the final stroke. A single transmission cut through the silence, broadcasted across every Imperial frequency. A human voice, calm, unwavering, certain. "This war is over." A pause. Then, the last words the Empire would hear from Earth. "Leave. Or we will come for you." The Emperor's blood ran cold. There was no anger in that voice, no boastful threat, no demand for surrender. Just a statement of fact. They had lost. Not just the war. Not just the fleet. They had lost their place in the stars.